Hello, this is Sibit, and I'm going to look at the tournament game that I played. Well, some weeks ago, I had started covering this tournament. It's a 7 round weekend tournament. The first 4 rounds were rapid games, which I have already covered on the channel. You can see it in the playlist for this tournament, which I will of course link to. So after the 4 rapid games, I had 3 points, and I was trailing my fellow FIDE masters Thorgeirsson and Iceland North who had 3.5. However, in the 5th round, I was paired up against one of them, Thorgeirsson. And to be honest, I wanted to play them in the rapid portion, at least one of them, because, well, they just present a tough game, a tough challenge. And this was a weekend, it was, we're playing chess, it's serious chess, but it's also fun, so you might go out for, a few beers after the round in the evening. But okay, so this was the morning round. I did almost no preparation. He has a very, very creative style. Doesn't really specialize in any openings, but I kind of, yeah, I just kind of, decided what I wanted to play. I decided to play c4 and see what he does. And I just have a certain repertoire where I just get a position. Sometimes it's not much, sometimes it's even nothing. But at least I kind of know what I'm doing, which is more important. So c4 in his opening, it's up to black really here to define what we will play. He plays knight f6, so still flexible. I played g3, and now e6. Like I said, I kind of thought he would go for g6 for king's Indian, but he surprised me a bit with e6 and went d5. Okay, now we will soon transpose to a Catalan. This is how I usually reach the Catalan. After d4, we can call this a Catalan. If he takes on c4, that's the open Catalan. If he moves the knight to d7 or plays c6, first we have the closed Catalan, most likely. And he played knight b2, d7. So, yeah, a quick look at the main line. I tend to change the board color when I look at other lines. So let's do that. So this is the main line, queen c2, a6, queen takes c4, b5, queen c2. So for reference, we'll see variations that are similar to this, but with a twist. So he didn't take on c4, he played knight b to d7. So here I think he's going for c6, the closed Catalan. When you do that, most of the time black is going for b6, bishop b7. Usually you don't go for d takes e4 and e5 unless you have the bishop on d6. And my usual response here is queen c2. I like it just because it protects the pawn. I don't have to think about sacrificing it. And then I will play knight b d2 and push my pawn to e4. So the most common way from here is c6, knight b d2, d6, and something like this, e4. And here black can play in 2 ways. He can take on e4, and I play knight takes e4, takes, etc. And yeah, plenty of experience in this, especially in blitz games. And the other way is to play something like this. Okay, allowing e5, but black gets some French-like play on the queen side. So I was expecting this when I played queen c2. But he surprised me here, and he played the move knight to e4. It's definitely a playable move. Quite often when you do this, I mean, white hasn't gone knight c3 or d2, so it means the square is available. And usually when you do this, you will be setting up a stonewall structure. So in case of me moving the bishop, let's say the bishop here, I was pretty sure he would go for something like a g5 push, so I didn't want to do that, so I played knight c3. And here I was expecting f5, but he... Well, no, f5 hangs d5. No, I was expecting takes in f5, yeah. So he took on c3, queen takes c3. And now he took on c4. To me, just fundamentally, I mean, if you move the knight here, maybe he had, yeah, okay. If you had played it with knight bd7, c6 instead of knight bd7, then you could have gone f5. That probably makes more sense. Because now, all that black did was to move the knight from f6 to e4 to capture a piece that I moved only once. So that has to favor me. So a small nuance that might make a difference in the opening. And now he takes on c4. Queen takes c4 and a6. So here I had to think. And now if you remember when we had a look at the open Catalan from earlier, I'm actually going to go back to that. So this is at the queen takes c4, he plays a6. If you remember when we went to the open Catalan, which was here, d takes c4, queen c2, this is the main line, a6, queen takes c4. And see here that he already played a6 and now he can play b5. Another feature is that you have this knight, so after bishop v7, which is still the main line, you have some control over this e4 square. But having played like he did in the game with knight f6 to e4 takes c3, he's going to lose some time. So let's go back to the position in the game. So now you don't have a knight on f6, and it's my move. You don't have b5 immediately. And probably even for me to get the knight, rid of the knight, it means that I'm closer to connecting the rooks. I decided to play rook d1 here. The reason for that is that all of black's play in this line of the Catalan revolves around trying to break with c5. And the rule of thumb is, most of the time, if black can play b5, bishop b7 and c5, then he will have equalized. The problem here, however, is if you play b5, I'll play queen c2, and now I have this threat of knight g5. And with the queen on c2, there's a mate threat on h7. This is very often a very important theme in the Catalan. So this means that you kind of have to move the rook to, avoid this little trick. And now this knight is coming to this juicy c6 square. And you can't take on e5 because d takes e5. Your queen is lacking squares. If you go to e8, bishop c6, you're losing material. So my opponent actually thought for well over 40 minutes, I think even 45 minutes. So immediately here I got a huge time edge. And he played the move rook a7. So clearly he felt, the tactical situation of this rook on the diagonal was not favorable. So he plays rook a7 with the idea to try and play e5 and c5. So I thought a bit here, and I decided, okay, he doesn't have a knight on f6, so he doesn't have his usual control over the e4 square. So why not push to e4? I mean, now that he has gotten off the diagonal, I don't really need, the presence immediately on this diagonal. So I thought, let's get the pawn duo. I am stopping c5 at the moment. If he were to play c5, I can take it. And the problem is I can always capture on d7 and then take on c5. And if there's no tricks down here, then I'm just off material. After e4, my opponent played b5. Queen back to c2. A natural square controlling the e4 pawn. Bishop b7. Okay, so here he is getting closer to his desired goal, but he had to put the rook on kind of a unnatural square. Now sometimes you play this rook a7 and a maneuver like queen to a8. But here I am in time to hassle him a little bit too much. Hassle to the half. Bishop to e3. Lining up against the rook, so whenever I move the d-pawn, I'll be attacking the rook. He played knight b6 here. And I just felt like all the moves were kind of natural for me, I felt. Now I played d5. This is both to pin the knight, and if he takes, I'm setting up the influence on the c6 square. The immediate point is, and now I have to, I'm not going to use the computer, I'm trying to remember. If he takes, I will take. You can take with the bishop. But I had some evil things in mind here. Yes. Okay, I think I wanted to take on b6. Play knight g5. We have this mate threat. No, this is not what I wanted to do. Hang on a minute. Because he can take. There was something else here. Maybe knight g5 immediately. This was not supposed to be good for him. Maybe it was just bishop b6 might still work, but yeah, maybe just knight e5. Now I'm just trying to take and then take on d5. Yeah, I actually don't see a move for him here. Yeah, knight e5. So he can't take on d5, so that's already an accomplishment. I mean, he can't take twice. He did take on d5 once, and now unpinned with rook to a8. Unfortunately, I am just in time for knight e5. And now if he takes on d5, well, if bishop takes, now I can take here and then just take on d5. And if knight takes, I think I was just intending this move. Well, maybe this is simplest just to go here. Knight c6. Then I'll just take on d5. Can't take because of this, so I win a piece. So I still can't take on d5. So that's why after he takes d, he played rook to a8. And knight d5, he still can't take on d5 here, and he played bishop f6. But now my knight is coming in, knight to c6. Queen d7, and now knight a5. And somehow everything is just, the moves are just coming naturally. Very strong pawn here. Now I'm attacking this guy. You really don't want to play bishop c6. Okay, I got d6 coming. Yeah, bishop c8, you can't play it. Okay, worst case scenario, I can just play here and I have an overwhelming position, but looks to me like I can also play here. And this guy is hit, just me. He did play rook a to b8. And now I took on b7 and played d6. And his problem is, yeah, he's just losing the exchange because, okay, where to put the rook? Let's say go to a7, I take on c7. And, well, if you're going to tolerate this pawn, you have to protect the knight, but b6 will lose its protection. I win a piece. So after d6, he actually gave up the exchange. Bishop takes, queen takes. And here I thought, just get rid of the tricky pieces. I took on b6. I didn't see any particular role for my bishop. And I felt like I get such good control over the light squares, d5 square. I just played rook d5 immediately. I still had a time match here. So I was just trying to be practical here, protect stuff. And not the luck counterplay. Bishop to d4. Rook, queen d2, okay. Bishop e5. I'll put the rook on c1. Rook to e8. Here the moves don't really matter that much. I'm just trying to improve the position. King t2. Okay, unpinning this pawn. Just not, yeah. Stay on the light square because his influence is on the dark squares. h6, b3. Getting pawns off the dark squares. b4, queen e2. Okay, now I have ideas of f4 because this guy is undefended. Place rook e6 to protect it. This let me in, king h7. Here I found a way that forced him to trade queens, queen to c6. And he doesn't really have a choice, otherwise I might enter his position. Like I move like queen a7 here, it seems to me. I can just play here and enter his position. So he elected to trade queens with bishop d4. Takes, rook c6, bishop c5. And this is hanging, but I can't allow rook e2 takes f2, so I played rook d2. The a pawn isn't going anywhere. Get the a pawn now. I hadn't necessarily formed any plan of how I'm going to win. I just felt like they should be winning. I always have ideas, even some ideas of eventually getting the king maybe to c4, playing a3 and then b4, hitting the bishop. This would undermine this and create a pass pawn. But at the moment I was just making moves. Rook c2, h5, rook d2. As you can see, no rush. Just making time control. I decided on h4 here. King g7, king f3. I think h4 just so that don't have to worry about this hanging. Rook c1, rook c6. Actually not threatening to take because he has a Swiss suit, but let's see, king g2, rook c7. What's coming up here? That was the idea of rook c6. From a6 I couldn't come to the 7th rank, but now I'm on the 7th rank. The only thing I have to worry about is counterplay against f2, but it's fairly easily avoided. Play rook e2, rook a1. And here I gave up the a2 pawn because I'm getting to his king. Rook takes f7. Here I first repeated here. And the reason for that is he has to go to the corner here. Because if he goes the other way, there might be better options which I would have calculated, but I think the simplest is to just play rook f3. Now I'm covering this, and next that just starts mopping up. Heading for the buffet, man. It's a buffet. Here's where I get all my money back. So he has to go to the corner. I'm threatening mate, he has to come back. And rook f3. So I repeated once just to make him go to the corner. See if he goes to the corner. No harm, no foul. Same position. Rook f3. And now I saw another possible idea. To rook d2, I played rook d8, king g7, and rook d2 f8. So what's the idea here? If it were white to move, what would I do? If it were white to move, I would go rook f7 check, king h6, and rook h8 mate. So he prevents that with bishop to d4, covering the h8 square. Play the check nonetheless, king h6, and rook e8. And the idea of this move will become apparent after rook b2, rook e2, e7, simply threatening rook h7 checkmate. If g5, which wasn't played, my opponent resigned here. If g5, rook e6. So checkmate in the end. So a fairly smooth win. Was quite happy with this game. Yeah, managed to win against one of my biggest rivals in this tournament. And I think his inexperience in the opening was the main culprit in this one. Seems like knight e4 takes c3, loses too much time. He's moving a piece twice to capture a piece that I moved only once. Actually, he's moving his piece for the third time, even if you count knight f6. And if you compare the position to the Opel Catalan, it's such a much better version for white, and it showed that he had problems finding a move here. C5 I take. I already showed you. Bishop takes c5, rook takes d7. 2 pieces for the rook. b5 has problems because of the bishop on the diagonal and the rook hanging on the diagonal. Mate threats on h7, if you remember that line. And compared to normal Catalans, getting this pawn duo is much more difficult. So Black's game sort of never got out of the muck, and he struggled because of it. And sort of all the white moves came naturally. So yeah, pretty smooth, and I was quite happy with this game, which gave me some chances in this tournament. Let's actually have a look at the standings after this round. I'm going to pull them up. Pull them up here. So things dramatically shifted. I was in a pack of guys with 3, but I was the only guy winning. So I managed to get to 4 out of 5. Win against my opponent, who is now behind me. And Thorgeirsson, who was the other leader, he made a draw. So after this, I am leading with Thorgeirsson, and yeah, it's clear that I will play against the other FM in the 6th round. The 6th round was played later that Saturday, and yeah, that will probably be my next video. From this tournament at least. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.